Scientists all over the world are in a race to find the vaccine for the new coronavirus. It typically takes 4 to 10 years to fully develop a vaccine. That's because of the well-elaborate phases the vaccine undergoes. We'll talk about that later. But there is every indication that the world might get a working coronavirus vaccine as early as 2021, as 6 out of the 165 vaccines in development are in the final phase of human trials. But a long queue is waiting, and a critical question is looming. Once a working vaccine is announced, will Africa be last in line? We are now to meet Professor Walter Jaoko, one of Kenya's top medical microbiologists and the director of the Kenya AIDS Vaccine Initiative. Now, Professor Walter has been of the strong opinion that Africa should take part in the COVID-19 vaccine trials. But many Africans have had a contrary opinion in that they're not happy having Africans take part or used in the vaccine trials. And up to date, only one country in Africa is taking part in the COVID-19 vaccine trials, and that is South Africa. So we want to ask the professor this one important question. So, Prof, why should Africa take part in the vaccine trials?
Africa is part of the world, and we have a pandemic. By definition, a pandemic is a condition, a disease condition that is affecting the whole world. So of necessity, Africa is the part of that world. So if the world is looking for a solution, it will be very unfortunate for Africa to sit back and wait for the solution to come from somewhere else.
Africa has been participating in a variety of vaccine trials over the years, from HIV and AIDS in the 1990s, the meningitis vaccine in the 2000s, the Ebola vaccine, to the more recent malaria vaccine. But questions have been raised over the ethics of some of these trials and the exploitation of African bodies for medical experimentation.
En Afrique, où il n'y a pas de masque, pas de traitement, pas de réanimation, un peu comme c'est fait d'ailleurs pour certaines études dans le sida.
So when two French doctors proposed that COVID-19 vaccine be ideally tested on African first, it sparked an uproar across the continent.
Alors vous avez raison, et d'ailleurs on est en train de réfléchir en parallèle à une étude en Afrique justement pour...
Kulikuwa wengine ambao kwa interview walikuwa wanasema ya kwamba kuna utafiti ambao unaendelea hapa ambao will involve or Kenyans are involved in being used as guinea pigs for a vaccine test. Hakuna ukweli hata kidogo kwa haya madai.
And Africa has every right to question these vaccine trials, as the continent has fallen victim to unethical trials in the past. In 1996, 11 children died and dozens were left disabled in northern Nigeria's Kano estate after receiving an anti-meningitis drug called Troven. Parents say they didn't know their children were part of vaccine trials, leading to a long court battle with drug manufacturing company Pfizer, which later settled out of court, paying each family $150,000. So it's no wonder Africans are hesitant to participate in health trials. But these reservations may cost the continent greatly in this current pandemic. While many African countries have been deliberating on whether or not to take part in the ongoing COVID-19 vaccine trials, countries around the world, including South Africa, have signed up swiftly, knowing the benefits of taking part in the trials.
One of the things that we do when we are participating in vaccine trials is that we negotiate for something called post-access. Post-access means that if you participate in a trial, you want to ensure that in the protocol, the document that designs and explains how the trial is going to be conducted, you have to indicate somewhere that when this vaccine becomes available, you'll be given priority because of the participation you have made in the development of that vaccine. Now you've heard about a vaccine that is almost reaching its final stages in the US. We have no ability to even negotiate with us. They will make the vaccine and it will be given priority only to the Americans.
Remember the phases of vaccine development that we spoke about? Well, this is why they really matter. A typical vaccine undergoes 3 main stages of development before it's approved.
The first stage of testing, you do it in the lab. You do it amongst, you can use what you call laboratory animals. Usually we start with the small animals like the mice, and then we go to the bigger animals like what you call non-human primates. In this case, those would be like chimpanzees. The reason you start with the animals, you want to find out what potential side effects are being seen in these animals. And then you also want to see whether when they're given this product, they produce these cells or these antibodies that you're interested in. When it comes to human beings, it's done in phases. The first time it is given to human beings, we call it phase 1. And the focus there is to see whether the side effects you saw in the animals are also similar to what you're going to see in human beings. So you use you get few volunteers and you monitor them very, very closely to see whether there are any problem. Once you find that the vaccine is not producing any significant problems, then you go to phase 2. And the phase 2, the focus is to see whether the immune responses, what we talked about, the cells or the antibodies, are being generated by the vaccine. You also, in addition, get more information about safety. And it is only that when you have a vaccine that is showing good safety profile and producing these immune responses that you take to phase 3. Now, phase 3 is what we call an efficacy phase, where you answer the question, is this vaccine protecting people? Now that requires many countries, large numbers of people, unlike the phase 1 and the phase 2, which are small studies.
6 vaccines recognized by the World Health Organization are now in their final phase of human trials. Oxford University's vaccine, in collaboration with British-Swedish AstraZeneca, is in the 3rd phase, the human phase, in England, South Africa, and Brazil. State-owned Chinese company Sinopharm is running 3rd phase trials in the United Arab Emirates. Adding to the list of private Chinese companies is Sinovac, which is also running 3rd phase trials in Brazil. Moderna, which is a company in the United States, has started its 3rd phase trials that aims to involve over 30,000 participants across the US. The German BioNTech company has entered into collaboration with drug manufacturing company Pfizer, and Chinese drug maker Fosun Pharma is set to commence its 3rd phase trial in the United States, Brazil, and Argentina. One reason why it's important to have Africa participate in the vaccine trials is the need to have scientific data on how the vaccine will perform in different parts of the world.
Our genetics tend to vary. There are some situations where you have a product that can be shown to be effective in a particular population, but not effective in another population because of different genetic makeups. So whenever you're testing a product that is going to be used globally, like I have a vaccine against COVID, it is of necessity that we also participate so that we have evidence that the vaccine will also be useful in a community like ours. So we have cases, we have drugs that have been found to be very effective in the West, for example. There's a drug called atenolol, which works very, very well in the white population. But when you try to use it in an African population, it doesn't work. So to sit and say that the results from the West will just be extrapolated to Africa is a fallacy.
Than an opportunity to do what's right. So how can you...
The World Health Organization is advocating for a scheme known as COVAX, where nations sign up to a global financing scheme for a vaccine to ensure safe and equitable access to a COVID-19 vaccine.
So any country that supports COVAX has a better chance of getting a successful vaccine candidate than going after a single one on their own.
The Vaccine Alliance, Gavi, which is leading the COVAX scheme, says that 92 middle-income and developing nations will be eligible for a vaccine under this initiative. More than 75 countries have expressed interest in the scheme, but a majority of the developed world is sitting tight and opting to invest top dollars to be prioritized in the first vaccine that will reach the approval stage. So back to that queue. With a mad rush between the world's mightiest and the wealthiest, what are African countries' chances in this race for the COVID-19 vaccine?
If we get a vaccine that is being developed in the West, Africa will be at the tail end of getting that vaccine.